What's going on, everybody? Sports culture, and today we got a 7-round mock draft for the Buffalo Bills, and I'm pretty excited to make this one. As we all know, they just traded Stefon Diggs to the Houston Texans, and I'm gonna be brutally honest. I think both sides won the trade, but I'm kind of leaning more with the Buffalo Bills. Just a couple weeks back, we seen Keenan Allen, another elite older wide receiver, go for a 4th-round pick to the Chicago Bears. Then we seen Stefon Diggs get traded to the Houston Texans for a 2nd-round pick. And not just a 2nd-round pick from the Houston Texans, but a 2nd-round pick from the Minnesota Vikings, which is a team that could be very bad next year or could be very average next year. So that pick could be from picks 33 to 41, which is very early in the 2nd round. So that could be a very good premier pick for the Buffalo Bills. And me personally, I was just not expecting Stefon Diggs to go for a 2nd-round pick. So I do think Buffalo, got the better of the trade just because of what they got in return for Stefon Diggs. So I do think this team in general will probably take a step back next year. But I do think the Buffalo Bills are going to take that Kansas City Chiefs approach where they free up as much cap space as they can and pick up as much draft capital as they can and just build a young team around Josh Allen. Josh Allen is still young in his career. He has at least another 6 years to go at the level he's playing with right now, and they need to build a team young around him so they can compete for many years. So without further ado, let's get right into this. So here we are, pick 28, in the position I will attack first for the Buffalo Bills is the wide receiver position, and it comes down to A.D. Mitchell, my 4th wide receiver in this year's draft class, or Larry McConkey, my 5th wide receiver in this year's draft class. You can't go wrong with either or. Both guys have different play styles. Larry McConkey's an elite, and I mean elite route runner. And then A.D. Mitchell could basically do it all. I really do like A.D. Mitchell a lot. That's why he's my wide receiver 4. You can't go wrong with either or. It comes down to personal preference and what do the Buffalo Bills need more from the wide receiver position. So right now I'm going to go look at the depth chart, and then we'll come back and make the selection. So now here's the wide receiver core for the Buffalo Bills, and there's 3 things I will say. They have a lot of guys that are very explosive with and without the ball in their hands. They have a lot of good size for the wide receiver position, and they have a lot of guys that offer different play styles. KJ Hamler was drafted by the Broncos a couple years back. I still think he has a lot of upside. 5'9", not the biggest dude, but he's a wide receiver that takes the top off the defense. Matt Collins, just a reliable, solid wide receiver. I really did like this signing. Andy Isabella at this point in his career is more of a gadget player, more of a special teamer type guy. And then Curtis Samuel, which they signed this offseason. I really do love the Curtis Samuel signing. Curtis Samuel's Deebo Samuel light. And then you got Khalil Shakur. I think this guy's going to be the star of the team next year. Just a very dynamic player with and without the football in his hands. Tyrell Shavers, 6'6", didn't really get much opportunity last year. Has great size. Justin Shorter, 6'4", didn't get much opportunity last year. Great size. Brian Thomas, 6'3", great size for the wide receiver position. So if you can see what I'm talking about here, they have a lot of wide receivers that have great size, a lot of wide receivers that have different play styles, and a lot of wide receivers that can, take the top off the defense, very explosive and dynamic with and without the ball in their hand. So after looking at the wide receiver core for the Buffalo Bills, the player I will be going with right here is A.D. Mitchell, the big body wide receiver out of Texas. I just can't pass up on a guy like A.D. Mitchell. This guy has a lot of potential. He's my 4th wide receiver in this year's draft class. And although I do think the Buffalo Bills maybe need someone like Larry McConkey, an elite route runner, I just can't pass on A.D. Mitchell. This guy has great potential, like I said. Great size for the wide receiver position. This guy's very, very athletic. And for a big body wide receiver, this guy is very good at running routes and is very fluid at doing so. A.D. Mitchell's measurements on PFF website are 6'4", 196 pounds, and 21 years old. I'm pretty sure at the combine, though, he measured in at 6'2", 205 pounds, which is very good size for the wide receiver position still. Now, here are some pros and cons for A.D. Mitchell. He's a fast, fluid route runner for his size, and someone he reminds me a lot like is CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. Just the way he runs his routes. Has fast footwork for quick releases off the line, effective shoulder dip when running by defenders, understands the nuisance of how to get open, especially deep. And some cons for A.D. Mitchell as a wide receiver. The shoulder dip to avoid contact in his route is good, but he needs to be more willing to chop defenders' hands away as well. Release speed is fast, but there are some false and wasted steps. He could do a better job of attacking the ball in the air, and that's definitely one thing I agree upon. For a guy his size, you definitely like to see him be more aggressive and attack the ball better in the air. His body language and effort can be very different when he's the primary receiver versus when he's not, and that's the biggest red flag to me. You can see it a lot of times on film. And as it says right here, he has shades of T. Higgins, which we could all definitely see. That's the one I definitely see the most. A.D. Mitchell being compared to guys such as T. Higgins, maybe even a smaller Mike Evans. But someone he reminds me a lot like is CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, A.D. Mitchell this year had a 74.1 receiving grade, a 1.72 yards per route run, a 1.8% drop rate, which is elite, 36.4 contested catch rate, and a 66.9 grade versus man coverage. Now, A.D. Mitchell this year had 55 receptions on 86 targets, 845 yards, 15.4 yards/receptions, and 11 touchdowns. Now, A.D. Mitchell does get picked 23% by Bills fans whenever they do their mock drafts. So for this mock draft, we are going to continue that trend. And I just think in real life, this is the most realistic scenario for the Buffalo Bills. I do think guys like Brian Thomas Jr. will be off the board by pick 28. So A.D. Mitchell, Lad McConkey, even Troy Franklin will still be on the board for the Buffalo Bills. And I think A.D. Mitchell is easily the best prospect out of those three. So in this mock draft right here, we are going to go A.D. Mitchell. So with this pick at pick 28, we are going to go A.D. Mitchell. So here we are, pick 16. There's a lot of players we could go with for the Buffalo Bills. Could go Jaden Hicks as safety out of Washington State. The Buffalo Bills are in need of a safety. And Jaden Hicks could play in the box. He could play single high. He's very good in zone coverage, which you know the Buffalo Bills love zone coverage. And this guy's a very physical hitter. Reminds me a lot like Jamal Adams, just actually good in zone coverage. Could go with the guy like Christian Hayes. Could go with the guy like Kyrie Jackson, the big zone cornerback out of Oregon, which honestly I might lean towards too. I really do like Kyrie Jackson a lot, especially in a zone-centric type of defense. But with this pick, I'm going to go Kywin Amagaji. And the reason I'm doing this is because Lyle Collins and Deion Dawkins are 29 and 30. And Kywin Amagaji is a project tackle / guard. And this guy is a very dominant, mean, physical run blocker. And the way he run blocks reminds me a lot like Trent Williams, a fantastic tackle for the San Francisco 49ers. The physicality, the meanness he plays with, the mean streak that Kywin Amagaji blocks with is very impressive. Now, the reason I say Kywin Amagaji is a project player is because he plays with really high pad level at times, and his hand placement on a play-to-play basis isn't the greatest, but he could definitely work on that. Now, Kywin Amagaji is a tackle / guard, and the reason I say / guard is because I believe in the NFL he's more of a guard, but I wouldn't be surprised, if an NFL team used him at the tackle position. Like I said, this guy's very physical, very mean, and could easily be one of the better run blockers in the NFL if developed right. It reminds me a lot like Trent Williams, like I said. Kywin Amagaji has good size at 6'5", 318. And here are some pros and cons for Kywin Amagaji. Body is built for the NFL. Stride length on his kick, slides, and shuffle covers a lot of ground to stay in front of guys. Really good balance of weight and power at contact. Though he has naturally high pad level, he is conscious of leverage and attempts to dip his hips, shoulders before contact. It also says right here, Kywin Amagaji has very impressive displacement / redirect power versus his current competition. Now here are the cons for Kywin Amagaji. High pad level, high-waisted build at his hips make it tough for him to stay in his stance at the snap. Foot speed is somewhat slow. Lack of hip flexibility and ability to sit in pass protection creates some balance issues. To me, the biggest one here is his high pad level, and the other one I would add on here is his hand placement on a play-to-play basis isn't the greatest. Now, it also says right here, projecting a player to go from the FCS level to the NFL level as a starter is tricky, but Amagaji has the tools and the tape to be a worthwhile investment in the top 50 as a starting caliber tackle or guard. So I'll pick 60 right here. I am going to go Kywin Amagaji. There's probably other players and positions we could go with, but like I said earlier, I do believe this offense for the Buffalo Bills will be more of a run-first team, and Kywin Amagaji is easily one of the more physical, better, run blockers in this entire draft class at the offensive line position. With this pick at pick 60, we are going to know Kywin Amagaji. He is a project player at the tackle / guard position, but I just love his upside, especially in this offense with the Buffalo Bills. So here we are, pick 128 for the Buffalo Bills, and their linebackers are pretty solid, Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano, but outside of that, there's not really anything special. There's not that really great depth pieces at the linebacker position for the Buffalo Bills. So with this pick, we're going to get Cedric Gray. I do think this guy's already better than Nicholas Morrow. Cedric Gray is one of my favorite linebackers in this draft class. Very fast linebacker, very good football IQ. He's a ball hawk. He's always around the football. I would maybe like him to be better at tackling in open space and wrapping up a little bit more consistently, but man, he's just always around the football. Very quick, solid on the sideline. As you see right here, Cedric Gray has great size for the linebacker position at 6'2", 235 pounds. And Cedric Gray this year had 80 tackles, 31 assisted tackles, and 19 missed tackles, which is honestly a lot. Like I said, I wish he could tackle up a better in open space. And Cedric Gray this year, guys, had a 76.8 pass rush grade, a 62.7 run defense grade. Like I said, he's always around the football and he can read plays very well. He just isn't the best at tackling on a play-to-play basis. Cedric Gray also had a 78.0 coverage grade, very solid for the linebacker position. Average depth of run tackle 3.1, very solid, and a missed tackle rate of 14.6, which is very high. Cedric Gray does get picked 8% by Buffalo Bills fans whenever they do their mock drafts. So for this mock draft right here, we are going to follow the trend, and we are going to pick Cedric Gray. I personally do like Cedric Gray a lot. I think Cedric Gray, 2 years down the line, could actually be a starting linebacker for the Buffalo Bills defense. So at this pick at 128, we are going to Cedric Gray right here, and we're just going to boost up this defense even more, get some more depth behind guys like Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, and just boost up this defense. So here we are, pick 133, and with this pick, we're going to get Ed Oliver, a budding mate. I feel like the Buffalo Bills always love to rotate their defensive linemen, but not just that, I feel like they have a lot of defensive tackles that are big body guys, but not necessarily the best at getting to the quarterback like Ed Oliver is. And right here at this pick, we're going to go Christian Boyd. I really do like Christian Boyd. To me, his biggest knock is that he played at Northern Iowa. But when you turn on the tape for Christian Boyd, he is completely dominant. That's what you want to see by someone that's playing against lower competition. This guy's dominant. Doesn't play against the best talent on a week-to-week basis, but even when he plays against good programs and good schools that are known, he still shows out. Christian Boyd is listed at 6'4", 317 pounds, and he's a very athletic 6'4", 317 pounds. He's very good at getting to the quarterback and stopping the run. And I just love the pairing of him and Ed Oliver together. I think both of them mesh well together. Christian Boyd this year had 89.4 pass rush grade, a 83.9 run defense grade, a 87.6 true pass set pass rush grade, a 16.4% pass rush win rate, which is very good for the defensive line position, and a 7.8% run stop rate. Now, the one thing I will say about Christian Boyd is when it comes to run stopping and when it comes to stopping the run, he does play with his pad level high, especially when it comes to taking on double teams. He does play with his pad level pretty high and doesn't use the best leverage when he takes on double teams. Christian Boyd this year had 3 sacks, 9 hits, and 28 hurries and 1 batted pass, which is very good. You want to see these pressures. You want to see these hurries. You want to see him be disruptive and cause chaos up front. And Christian Boyd isn't one of these defensive linemen that could only line up over the A gap or B gap. He could do it both. He could line up over the A gap and B gap. He has the versatility. Now, Christian Boyd does get picked 13% by Bills fans whenever they do their mock draft. So for this mock draft right here, we are going to follow the trend. I really do like Christian Boyd a lot, and I just love the pairing of him and Ed Oliver right next to each other. So we traded down just 6 picks with the New Orleans Saints, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I tried finessing one of these teams to get a lot more draft capital, but for some reason, none of these teams were biting, man. None of these teams were trying to give me draft capital, so we only traded six spots back with the New Orleans Saints. They were honestly the only team that wanted this pick, and we didn't really get a good trade back. We're trading back. We're giving away 144, getting 150 and 239, so I guess an okay trade back. None of the players I really want don't get picked till a little bit later, so we'll trade back 6 picks, then pick the player I want. So here we are, 150, and the player we'll be selecting here is Javon Foster. I know I picked Kawin Amagaji earlier, who's more of a project tackle / guard. But with this pick right here, we're going to get Javon Foster, and I think he's a legit tackle that could play for any team right now. I really do like Javon Foster a lot. He's one of my favorite offensive linemen in this draft class, and he's a guy that if La'el Collins or Deion Dawkins gets hurt or needs to come out for a couple of plays, Javon Foster could come in and play to that standard. Javon Foster is such a balanced offensive lineman. He's very good at run blocking and pass blocking and plays with great leverage and has great hand placement. This year he had an 85.8 run block grade, an 80.9 pass block grade, a 91.0 zone grade, which is phenomenal, a 62.9 gap grade, and a 71.7 true pass set pass block grade, which is very solid. Now this year, Javon Foster allowed 1 sack, 0 hits, and 12 hurries. Those 12 hurries we like to see probably go down just a little bit. The previous year, 4 sacks, 3 hits, 9 hurries. And the year before that, 2 sacks, 3 hits, and 14 hurries. So you can see the progression from each year and how he got better. Now Javon Foster is listed at 6'5", 319, which is very solid size for the tackle position. Javon Foster does get picked 8% by Bills fans whenever they do the mock draft. So for this mock draft right here, we are going to follow that trend. And there's nothing wrong with getting offensive line depth, especially guys that can come in and play to that standard and play to that same level as your other tackles. I really do like Javon Foster a lot. He's becoming one of my favorite offensive linemen in this draft class. And there's nothing wrong with going with depth. Offensive linemen always get banged up. Guys are always getting rolled up. Guys are always getting hurt. Guys have to come out for a number of plays, even a number of games. So getting a guy that could come in, play to that standard, play to that level that your other tackles were playing at is very good. So with this pick at 150, we are going to go Javon Foster. So here we are, pick 116. The Buffalo Bills are in need of a new safety. And with this pick, we're going to go Malik Mufasa. You guys want a fast safety? Malik Mufasa is your guy. You want a safety that can tackle very well in open space? Malik Mufasa is your guy. You want a guy that can recover very well in coverage? Malik Mufasa's your guy. I really do like Malik Mufasa a lot, especially in this Bills defensive scheme, this heavy, zone-centric scheme that has a lot of blitzes as well. I really just love his fitting in this defensive scheme for the Buffalo Bills. This guy is one of the fastest safeties in this draft class, has elite recovery speed, and is very good at tackling in open space, like I said. Malik Mufasa is listed at 5'11", 207 pounds, and as it says right here, Mufasa is a throwback tone setter over the middle. His measurements and mentality are reminiscent of Bob Sanders. Unfortunately, he doesn't have that plus athletic ability, specifically fluidity and top speed of Sanders. It also says right here, Malik Mufasa does his best work when coming from a too deep safety shell, where he can keep the play in front of him and fire downhill when needed. He is an all-out blitzer even from the deep safety spot. His shoulder arms can cause problems when wrapping up tackles, but when he hits players, they feel it. And Malik Mufasa this year had a 72.1 coverage grade, an 87.5 run defense grade, which is very elite for a safety, a 12.4 missed tackle rate, a 10.3 force and completion rate, and an average depth of run tackle of 4.5, which is very good for a safety. Now, Malik Mufasa this year had 62 tackles, 16 assisted tackles, and 11 missed tackles, which is honestly not that bad. Malik Mufasa this year had 5 coverage stops, 21 run stops, 15 receptions on 29 targets, a 79.0 passer rating allowed, 2 touchdowns to 1 interception, and 3 forced incompletions. And the reason I really do like Malik Mufasa a lot is because he has that versatility. This is a guy who, in my opinion, could line up at the nickel. As you see right here, 144 snaps at the slot. Could line up in the box, 327 snaps in the box, but could honestly line up back deep because he has the speed and the size to do it. Now, Malik Mufasa does get picked 21% by Bills fans whenever they do their mock draft. So for this mock draft right here, we are going to follow the trend. I really do like Malik Mufasa a lot, especially in this Bills defensive scheme. So here we are, 163, and the Buffalo Bills are in need of another cornerback. They lost Tre'Davious White to the LA Rams. So with this pick, we're going to go with the cornerback that I think just fits this Buffalo Bills defensive scheme, and that's Dwight McGlothern, the cornerback of Kansas. This guy's a big cornerback at 6'2", 6'3", but he's just very good in zone coverage, and has shown a lot of flashes of man coverage as well. Dwight McGlothern is listed in at 6'2", 188 pounds, which is very good size for the cornerback position. He's very big and lengthy. And if I had to give a player comparison for Dwight McGlothern, it sounds cliche because he's on your guys' team right now, but Dwight McGlothern reminds me a lot like Rasul Douglas. Just the way they both play the cornerback position, just their size for the cornerback position, and just their instincts that they both play with. Now, Dwight McGlothern this year had a 91.8 coverage grade, which is very good. A 65.4 run defense grade. He's not afraid to tackle, just can't make all the tackles in the world. A 48.0 completion percentage, a 80.3 man coverage grade. Like I said, he's shown a lot of flashes of man coverage. And a 90.4 zone coverage grade, which is fantastic for this zone-centric scheme that the Buffalo Bills love running on defense. Now, Dwight McGlothern this year allowed 12 receptions on 25 targets for 132 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions on a passer rating of 51.2. Now, Dwight McGlothern does get picked 10% by Bills fans whenever they do their mock draft. So for this mock draft right here, we're going to follow that trend. And I just really do like Dwight McGlothern in this defensive scheme for the Buffalo Bills, especially next to cornerbacks like Rasul Douglas. So here we are, pick 200 for the Buffalo Bills. And the position I will be selecting here is not necessarily a position of need for the Buffalo Bills, but in the NFL right now in this current age, you can't have enough pass rushers. So with this pick, we're going to go Brennan Jackson, the edge defender, edge rusher from Washington State. And this guy has good size at 6'4", 260. I think of him more as a third down specialist, a guy that just gets to the quarterback. He's very quick off the line and uses his hands very well. Brennan Jackson, like I said, 6'4", 264 pounds. Very solid size for an edge rusher. Brennan Jackson this year had a 76.6 pass rush grade, a 78.2 run defense grade, a 74.2 true pass set pass rush grade, an 11.8% pass rush win rate, which is very solid, and a 4.9 run stop rate, which is not great, not bad. Brennan Jackson this year had 9 sacks, 5 hits, 26 hurries, which is very good. You want to see those pressures, those hurries. You want to see him be disruptive up front. And he had 3 batted passes, which I like a lot. Like I said, the reason I see this guy as a third down specialist is because at the collegiate level, he only lined out outside the tackle. And then the NFL, because his size at 6'4", 264, and his speed and the way he uses his hands, he's only going to be lined up outside the tackle, and he's going to be more like a third down specialist. So with this pick at 200, we are going to go Brennan Jackson. In the NFL today, you can't have enough pass rushers, and I think Brennan Jackson is honestly a very solid pass rusher. He gets to the quarterback very well. I see him like a third down specialist. So with this pick at 200, we are going Brennan Jackson. So here we are, pick 204 for the Buffalo Bills, and they can still use some more wide receiver depth. So with this pick, we're going to get the wide receiver out of San Antonio, Joshua Cephas, and this guy's measured in at 6'3", 190 pounds, somewhere around there, but man, when you watch the tape, this guy moves like he's 6 foot, 180 pounds. Very, very explosive. Very good off the line. Has a lot of releases. Knows how to stack DBs. Knows how to use leverage against DBs. Has elite, and I mean elite hands. Only had 1 drop in 2023. And the one thing I like about him the most is his toughness. Multiple times when I watch the film on him, he do in-breaking routes, crosses across the middle of the field. He'd get hit by linebackers or safeties just lurking in the field. And he'd catch the football, but not just that, get up and celebrate right after that. So he's very, very tough, and I do like that. Like I said, Joshua Cephas, 6'3", 185 pounds, which is very good size for the wide receiver position. And another thing about this guy is he's very versatile. He can line up in the slot, and he can line up outside. Joshua Cephas this year had an 88.2 receiving grade, a 2.3 yards per route run, a 1.1 drop rate, which is very, very elite, a 26.3 contested catch rate, which you would like to see, definitely higher, but didn't really have that much contested, catches, opportunities, or whatever you want to call that. 88.3 grade versus man coverage, which is very good. And like I said, Joshua Cephas at 6'3" is a very versatile wide receiver. He can line up in the slot. 297 snaps in the slot, and then 193 out wide. Joshua Cephas this year had 89 receptions on 121 targets for 1,151 yards on 12.9 yards/receptions. And 10 touchdowns. And like I said about Joshua Cephas, only 1 drop in 2023, which is very elite. And as we look right here as well, 29 screen catches for 271 screen yards, which is 5th in the country. 55 slot catches for 691 slot yards. and 5 contested catches. Now, Joshua Cyphers does get picked 7% by Bills fans whenever they do their mock draft. So with this pick right here and this mock draft, we will continue the trend. And I really do like Joshua Cyphers in the later rounds for teams that are looking for wide receivers. If this guy falls into the right team, the right coaching staff, gets developed right, and falls into a team in general that is willing to be patient and just develop players in general, I think he could be a very solid wide receiver for one of these teams, make himself a solid NFL career, and maybe be a wide receiver 2 or 3 for one of these NFL teams. So with this pick at 204, we are going to just get more wide receiver depth for the Buffalo Bills. And Joshua Cyphers is a sleeper, in my opinion, in this year's draft class. So here we are, pick 239 for the Buffalo Bills. And we're going to get one of my favorite players in this draft class, a guy that I just don't understand how he's not getting talked about more, how he doesn't have more buzz under his name. I know earlier in this draft, we drafted Malik Mufasa, another safety, but with this pick, we're going to draft another safety, and that is Katana Ladapo. This guy could literally do it all. He could cover very well. He could tackle very well in space. He's very athletic, and the one thing I like about him the most is he's a very good blitzer as well. Just a jack of all trades. I don't know how this guy's not getting talked about more. The definition of a diamond in the rough, the definition of a sleeper in the NFL draft. Katana Ladapo has great size for the safety position at 6'1", 217 pounds, and this guy's just very athletic and has great speed in general. Katana Ladapo this year had an 84.4 coverage grade, a 91.3 run defense grade. Like I said, this guy's very good at tackling in open space, a 12.1 missed tackle rate, a 19.4 force to completion rate, which is very good, and an 8.9 average depth of run tackle. Now, Katana Ladapo can line up literally anywhere. As you see right here, 278 snaps in the slot, 292 in the box, and 174 back deep. Katana Ladapo this year had 63 tackles, 17 assisted tackles, and 11 missed tackles. Now, Katana Ladapo this year had 10 coverage stops, 13 run stops, 21 receptions on 36 targets, a 61.3 passer rating allowed, which is very solid, 1 touchdown allowed to 2 interceptions, and 7 forced incompletions. And right now, we look at the Buffalo Bills depth chart at the safety position. Mike Edwards is obviously going to be the starting safety, and I really do like the fit with Mike Edwards in this Buffalo Bills defensive scheme. Damar Hamlin, he's a very good tackler, I will admit that. Very good in the box, very good, playing back, letting the plays, stay in front of him. Coverage-wise, not that good. Taylor Rapp, the same thing. Was used to play for the Rams, and I thought this guy was honestly going to be very, very good. Hasn't really, improved since his first 2 years in the NFL. And then Kendall Williamson, we just didn't really get to see much of him last year. So it's not a bad idea to go 2 safeties in this draft class for the Buffalo Bills and get 2 guys that have a lot of upside, in Malik Mufasa and Katana Ladapo, who I think Katana Ladapo is the definition of a diamond in the rough. So it's not a bad thing to get 2 safeties in this draft class for the Buffalo Bills, especially because they lost their 2 premier safeties in this free agency. So after looking at the depth chart, you can kind of see why I'm going 2 safeties in this year's draft class, or my mock draft, for the Buffalo Bills. So with this pick, we're going to go Katana Ladapo, and I really mean it. This guy is a diamond in the rough, the definition of a sleeper in this year's NFL draft class. So here we are with my last pick in this mock draft at 248. And with this pick, we're just going to get more depth for the cornerback position for the Buffalo Bills. And this pick is going to be Jarius Monroe. He's a big cornerback from Tulane. And honestly, I really do like this guy a lot. I love his technique. I like the way he plays the ball. He has a lot of pass breakups at the collegiate level. And like I said, he has great size for the cornerback position. 6'2", 205 pounds. He's a very good run tackler. But the one thing I like about him the most, very good in zone coverage, very good instincts, and he just fits this Bills defensive scheme. Monroe this year had a 79.9 coverage grade, an 83.3 run defense grade, a 48.5 completion percentage, a 58.4 man coverage grade. Isn't the greatest in man coverage, but Monroe had an 82.4 zone coverage grade, and that's why I like him for this Buffalo Bills defensive scheme. Jarius Monroe this year allowed 32 receptions on 66 targets, 313 yards for 1 touchdown to 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of a 48.4. Monroe this year had 14 forced incompletions, 1 dropped interception, 8 coverage stops, 8 missed tackles, an average depth of target of 12.7. So with this pick at 248, we're just going to go Jarius Monroe, give more depth for the cornerback position for the Buffalo Bills. And honestly, I really do like this guy. His size is 6'2", the way he plays zone coverage, and I just feel like he's a great defensive scheme fit for the Buffalo Bills defensive scheme. All right, so let's go ahead and look at what PFF has graded my mock draft. First pick, we did go A.D. Mitchell, got an A- right there. I think, outside of Brian Thomas Jr. and any of the top 3 wide receivers in this year's draft class, he's easily the best pick for the Buffalo Bills at pick 28. Next pick, we did go Kaiwan Amagaji, more of a project player. Got an A right there. I really do like Kaiwan Amagaji a lot, especially with this Buffalo Bills team maybe being more of a run-first team next year with James Cook, taking off those last 8 games, and Josh Allen, being a dual threat. I could see Kaiwan Amagaji being a very good tackle guard for this Buffalo Bills team. Next pick was Cedric Gray, got a B right there. I think this guy could be the starter 2 years down the line. Next pick was Christian Boyd, got a B right there. I just love him next to Ed Oliver. Both guys are very good at stopping the run and getting to the quarterback. Next pick was Javon Foster. Got a C plus right there. Can't go wrong with offensive line depth in the NFL. Guys always get rolled up. Guys get hurt. Guys get banged up. Guys need to come out for a certain amount of plays or a certain amount of games. So you need guys that could come in and perform to that standard. And I think Javon Foster is a very good tackle. Next pick at 160 was Malik Mufasa. And I just love him for this Buffalo Bills defense. This guy's a jack of all trades, could blitz very well, could tackle very well in open space. He's a tone setter. He's very physical, and he's very good in coverage as well. He has very good speed in my eyes. Got a B plus right there for that pickup. Very, very good. Then at 163, we did go Dwight McGlothern, and I just love this pairing for the Buffalo Bills. This guy has great size for the corner position at 6'2". Reminds me a lot like Rasul Douglas, but Dwight McGlothern, man, very good in zone coverage, has shown a lot of man coverage. I just like this pickup for the Buffalo Bills. Got to be right there, can't complain. Next pick at pick 200 was Brendan Jackson, and like I said when I drafted him, in the NFL today, you can't have enough pass rushers. And Brendan Jackson, I view him as a third down specialist. This guy has great size at 6'4", 264. Has very good hand usage and is very quick off the line. Got to be minus right there. Can't complain. Next pick was Joshua Cephas at 204. And we got to be right there. Man, for a guy his size, you just don't see guys move that well the way he does. Very explosive with and without the ball in his hands. I just like this pairing with this Buffalo Bills team. He's a very dynamic wide receiver in my eyes. Next pick was Katana Ladapo, and this guy is the definition of a sleeper in this year's draft class. A diamond in the rough, a jack of all trades. He could cover very well, could tackle very well, and could blitz very well. He's very athletic, has great recovery speed in my eyes. And I just love Katana Ladapo as a prospect. I really don't understand how he's not getting talked about more. He doesn't have more buzz under his name. Got a B plus right there. I think this guy's going to be a very good safety in the NFL, and is going to make one of these GMs very happy, especially in the late rounds. And my last pick at 248 was Jarius Monroe. Just more cornerback depth for this Buffalo Bills team. I think he fits the defensive scheme for the Buffalo Bills as well. Very good zone cornerback that can tackle very well in open space. The overall draft grade PFF has given me for my mock draft is a B plus, and honestly, I'm very satisfied with that. I think this is a very good draft class. I think the Buffalo Bills get a lot of depth, a lot of good players that can make instant impacts. My favorite 3 picks right now would probably be A.D. Mitchell, Cedric Gray, because I think Cedric Gray could be the starting linebacker 2 years down the line, and then probably Dwight McGlothern. I just think Dwight McGlothern is an instant impact player for this Buffalo Bills defense, and I think he's a great defensive scheme fit for this team, and he could be a diamond in the rough for this defense. So overall grade, like I said, was a B plus. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What picks you would have made, what picks you wouldn't have made. And it's been your boy Sports Culture. I am out.